This is C1 Algebra GCSE review, and this is an exam question from the C1 exam paper in January 2008, and this was question 2. In part A, we simply had to write down the value of 16 to the power of a quarter. In order to do this, there's a fact you need to know, and that is what a fractional power actually means. Here's the fact: x to the power 1 over n, that means the nth root of x. So power of 1 over 4 in this case, that will be the 4th root of 16, which is the number which, when you times it by itself 4 times, gives you 16, and that number is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. That's worth 1 mark. In part B, a little bit more complicated, this time worth 2 marks. Inside the brackets we have 16x to the power of 12, and on the outside a power of 3/4. So everything inside the brackets is affected by the power. This brings us to another fact you need to know. In part A we had a power of 1 over 4. This time we have a power of 3 over 4. So when we have a power of m over n, that means we have the nth root of x, and then raised to the power of m. This is the fact you need to know in order to tackle this question. Now, I said a moment ago, everything inside these brackets is going to be to the power of 3/4. So let's just write it like that. We have 16 to the power of 3/4. And next to that, so in algebra, when we have things next to each other, they are being multiplied. So it's that multiplied by x to the power 12 to the power 3/4. As we know, a fractional power means some kind of root and then a power. 16 to the power 3/4 is going to be the 4th root of 16, and then we're going to need to cube that. You could cube 16 first and then do the 4th root, but remember, C1 is a non-calculator paper, so it's much easier to do the root first, because then it keeps the numbers small. The algebra bit, x to the power 12 to the power 3/4, brings us to yet another fact you need to know from the laws of indices. If we have x to the power m all to the power n, I call this a power of a power, and when we have that, we need to multiply the powers. So a power of a power, to get rid of the brackets, we simply multiply the powers together. The base of the power doesn't change. The base is the x. Here we have x to the power 12 to the power 3/4. So we need to multiply together 12 and 3/4. So 3/4 of 12, or 12 lots of 3/4, is 9. So that's that bit dealt with. In fact, from the mark scheme, we see that the first of the 2 marks is for seeing this, x to the power of 9. Let's make sure we get both marks by finishing off the first bit. Now you can see a link to part A here, 4th root of 16. We've already worked that out from part A. It's 2. So the 4th root of 16 is 2, and then we need to cube that. 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8, times by x to the power 9, and that is the answer for part 2. Now in a C1 exam you need to be working at approximately a mark a minute. This question, 3 marks, make sure you don't spend much longer than 3 minutes doing this question, Ideally, a lot less than 3 minutes.